The original PlayStation 1 was jam-packed with brilliant adventures to discover. One of its most unique games was arguably Tombi. While it was a well-received game critically, it struggled to garner the sales to back this up. It never got released as a platinum release for PAL regions, but it still did miraculously manage to sell enough to gain a sequel. While not straying too far away from the core concept of the first, the second did take a shift in art style, atmosphere and tone. But was this enough to reignite the series, whip up sales and save Whoopee Camp? Well, by the fact that Whoopee Camp never made a game again and the stupid prices this game fetches too, I'm gonna guess no. Arigato Jimmy-san, oh, fuck off. Hello kids, it's Helispookter and welcome back. I just realised I'm wearing like the coolest outfit in the world and no one can see it. I am endangering my life right now. Oh, shit. Last time we took a look at the cult PlayStation 1 game, Tombi 1, and we came out of it having had a really good time, but it wasn't perfect. Some of the areas were annoying to navigate and platform through, and some of the events were a little frustrating, but any of the minor negatives that I had were vastly outweighed by the positive stuff I did experience. And if you haven't watched that review, please check it out. I mentioned last time that I switched between these two games as to which is my favourite game of all time. Whereas I often said the first, it's the second game that I've played the most. I bought this one before buying the first, although it was the first game I'd intended to buy on that day, from the Playhouse. Anyone else remember this? Is this an actual chain or is it just in my hometown? Maybe playing these back to back with a more critical eye will help me decide once and for all which one is my favourite. We're back with our old friends Whoopee Camp. Takura Fujiwara would step back from directorial duties this time to sit as producer, handing the baton over to Kumiyaki Kokua. The game's art style will take a drastic change as we go from a cartoony 2D world to a completely 3D modelled world, although we still are travelling in the 2D plane, jumping in and out of the foreground at predetermined locations. This meant that the whole game could be more ambitious, more detailed worlds and characters that are easier to define, as well as this dynamic camera which pans around the scenarios and cutscenes. But I will admit it does take away some of the visual charm as it looks more like a generic PS1 game at times. Like, you might struggle to place Tombi 1 in terms of console and time period if you just to look at it. Tombi 2 on the other hand, this is so ridiculously PS1 I think a polygon might put me in the eye. The game released in the year 2000 to good critical reception, but just like the first, it didn't sell well, and not long after its release, Whoopee Camp would close forever. Like its predecessor, it was eventually released to the PSN for PS3 and Vita owners, and again, I'll be playing the original PS1 disc on the PS2 due to the lack of PS3. Man, I really need to invest in one. The opening begins with an FMV cutscene, which is the only one in the game, by the way, showing Tombi and Charles the Monkey knocking about in the world from the first game. The tone is definitely set out to be different, not only in the graphical style, but in Tombi's personality. In the first, he was alone, surviving off the land. This time, he's just hanging out with his buddy, messing around. It's like he's grown up since the first adventure. And he's wearing that bloody bracelet he was so careless with last time. After our confrontation, we get a letter. A little flying whatever called Zippo appears from it to tell Tombi that his childhood friend Tabby has disappeared. So Tombi and Charles carefully and strategically plan a course of action to rescue her and oh no, they've just dived into the sea. Magically and super conveniently, we wash up in the town of the fishermen, which is the very next town to where we need to be, and we find a new character called Kynan with his house on fire. We find a bucket and water spigots.
This'll work for carrying the water.
Equip the bucket, fill it with water, and use it to put out the fire. What baffled me as a kid about this sequence was that the box describes Tabby as Tombi's girlfriend, not childhood friend. Like, damn, I need to play this game now to see if we do indeed have a love interest. The game makes implications on the course of action, and you fill in the gaps to get by. Whereas in the first, you're mostly kinda left to it after the Village of All Beginnings, here there will always be someone to guide you. It sometimes comes off as a little patronising, but was more helpful to kid me. Where it could be easy to become lost on what to do next in the first, the second will always make sure you are never stuck and you will breeze through to its final confrontation. We have a huge change now from random gibberish with text boxes to actual full-blown voice acting. I actually do prefer this, it gives the game more life. Plus we have Zippo now who acts as the voice of the silent protagonist. Like Navi to Link, but less annoying and more of an arsehole.
Do something, Tombi!
I'd love to, but I don't know.
Although I do enjoy this change, the voice acting at times can be questionable.
Please don't talk to me right now. I'm trying to find that star-shaped card that goes to the bridge.
No way. I'm not leaving until I see the circus clown.
I'm captured by the water pig.
And this one instance where Zippo's voice changes entirely.
Thanks for all your help, Gran.
Oddly, the voice acting in this version is limited to the major story-driven moments, when I know that the NTSC release had voice acting for every single dialogue box. That is a shame. I feel like I'm missing out on some of these characters. A voice can really attribute empathy and personality, so a fully voiced world must have made it feel that much more alive. I'd like to know the reasoning behind this regional change too. I thought maybe at first it was the name change as we know it as Tombi rather than Tombat over here, but the side missions rarely use Tombi's name, so it couldn't have been a re-recording issue. I genuinely have no idea with this one. The other big change was the previously mentioned shift from 2D to 3D sprites. It does flesh the world out more again. The sense of scale that comes from having a 3D world helps realise a lot of the game's potential. But it's not perfect. I struggle with faces sometimes as it can be hard to make out what someone looks like. But for a PS1 game, there is still a lot of stuff going on here that I can really appreciate. NPCs are no longer just static images until you interact with them. This time there are miners busy digging, the circus folk are practicing their act, people have been affected by status ailments that can happen to Tombi. It's just a world full of life. But to keep with the familiar, the actual gameplay hasn't altered much from its predecessor. We still find and complete missions called events, and to do this we use items, perform simple tasks, and take part in mini-games of questionable quality. I enjoyed the events a lot more in this game too. Each area felt like its own little world to complete rather than just getting to the next area because progression. Take the Kujara Ranch for example. We want to get on the lift to get to the summit, but in order to do that we need to talk to this guy who tasks us with finding his journal, get this sack, give it to fucking Santa, who gives you a fire hammer. Then in Santa's house, he has a secret room with a journal locked in a chest. Like, why did he have to lock it away? What is in there? The guy acts so shifty about you reading it too, like, what did you do?
You haven't read it. You haven't read inside, have you?
Then you shouldn't hide it.
He gives you a green key to unlock this chest, which gives you the squirrel clothes. And these allow you to pretty much fly, use them to get this fruit, use the hammer to fight off the ice pigs, get to the lift, use the fruit, progress. And I really enjoy this structure. It's not just about platforming, it's about discovering the people, helping them and learning about them and how the world works. Although sometimes it seems like weird logic has tried to be used to explain what should be a mundane situation, making it verge on the illogical. Trying to explain Tombi but sounding like a lunatic? Part 1. There will only be one part this time, I swear. So we want to go to the coal mine in town through the town of the fishermen, but there's no shortcut to get there, so we need to help build one. Ah, cool, so we need to gather tools, nails, hammers, basic DIY shit. Tools? Haha, no, you build shortcuts by capturing golden crabs. I think this sequence is meant to be mad because Wynn is like this game's equivalent of a mad scientist, but I just can't with this. We take the golden crabs to him, they go inside these aquatic plants, spikes appear from the floor, burst the plants, the crabs crawl up the wall, sniffing the ropes, causing the propeller that had been strung up to fall, start turning, which then carves stairs into the wall, making a shortcut. What did I just witness? Like, just have the propeller on the floor to begin with, dude. Come on, lives are at stake. I can't just encourage you with your stupid contraptions. What if the crabs didn't want to climb and snip ropes? You would have been fucked. The whole game is littered with this illogical shit. Like in the circus village, when trying to retrieve this cog from this parrot, we have to use a ball on a seesaw to knock the cog out of the parrot's grasp because it's in a high place, and that's a place we just can't reach. Although Zippo can fly, and moments later, in the same area, Zippo demonstrates he can change his altitude, the absolute little turd. I hate him so much.
This book has too many hard words. I can't read it.
How about have it in another language? It just makes Zippo seem more useless than needed, and he is pretty useless. He appears out of nowhere, states the obvious, he blatantly hates Charles.
Oh, Charles, you're so smooth. You come out at times like this and pretend to have done it all.
And I have no idea what he's meant to be. And the main story annoys me because of this glaring pothole. No, they're in the floor. Plot hole. So we're told Tabby's disappeared, so we're going to find her. We go to her house and shocking surprise, she's not there. So we speak to Gran, who's all like, yeah, I just saw Tabby traveling to the Kujara Ranch. It's when she's due to return on the trolley and she's not there that we find out she's just been kidnapped, like right now. So who sent the letter to say she was missing, because she wasn't? The fact that Gran had just seen her means that she was never missing. Maybe the pigs sent it to show their intention, but why would they want Tombi around with his pig-destroying credentials? I'm thinking too much into this, I think. But that's what happens when you play a game this many times. You notice all the tiny little insignificant inconsistencies. But the story kind of falls into this so bad it's good category. I suppose it's also the game's credit that it's held my attention for so long. Like, sometimes if I was bored of an afternoon, I'd just complete Tombi 2 because why not? I think everyone has at least one game like this where you know exactly what to do to get 100% without having to look anything up, you know, the game you're an expert on. I have this in Spyro 3 actually. Ugh, I'm digressing. The side events take up a bigger proportion of the events list this time. There's 137 in total, and a lot of them end up being linked to one another and need to be completed in order to progress with another one. They're less like standalone missions and more like actual side quests. The most complex and hardest to complete is the Golden Tower, which off the top of my head requires at least 15 other side events to be completed in order to gain the item from it, the game-breaking Golden Powder, which means you take no damage at all from any enemies no matter how hard you try. Man, if this game wasn't piss easy before. This breaks the game so I never use it, but to be honest there was already a game-breaking item which was in continuous use. The Squirrel Clothes. Tombi starts his adventure dressed in just his pants like the first game, and again, he has quite heavy controls and falls really quickly. But the Squirrel Clothes slow your descent to a point where you're almost flying, and if you press the X button whilst gliding, Tombi flaps his wings, slowing the descent even more. Coupled with the Animal Dash and Grapple which suspends you from most surfaces, platforming challenges become a thing of the past. You'll probably spend most of the game in the Squirrel Clothes, but that doesn't mean your other items become obsolete. You'll have to change into the pig suit to converse in the pig language, but only with some pigs though, but I don't have to be in a mouse suit to speak with a mice. And it's Tombi in the suit, not Zippo, so how can he understand this, the stupid little... I'm overthinking it again. And it gets imbued with the power to swim, so it's needed to get through any water sections. It's the same with the weapons, they actually have elemental effects this time, like the Kappas in the pipe area can only be hurt with the ice boomerang. Anything else has no effect. I mean, it's all pretty situational, but I appreciate that it's there. The game's also easier to traverse this time as there's fewer cursed areas and they're all linked in a more linear fashion. It kind of just loops back around on itself again after reaching the final area. The last bit in the water temple was always so epic. This huge fish swims up a waterfall and a temple just appears out from it. Inside we use this mystery reflector to shine light into the eyes of the archway, causing a door to open. The whole world begins to rumble and another pathway is opened up. The first time I played this, I was so excited as to what the next area would be. There's such a huge build up to it. I could imagine this amazing new world, even more elaborately cursed than any other, new and deadlier enemies to defeat, new items to discover. Oh, I'm so excited to see what's through this door. It could be anything. There is a fair amount of backtracking, but it's more for the optional stuff from here on out. In the first game, to get the cursed area's pig bag, you had to search the area for it, which could be a bit tedious, especially if you don't know where it could be, which slowed down the main story progression and the general pace of the game. Here you're just given the area's pig bag on completing it, streamlining the main narrative experience. In fact, the whole game does feel more streamlined overall. The main improvement coming from the item usage. Your items are colour coded now to blue and pink, blue being usable items you need to change or bring out such as consumables or equipable items like the bucket. Pink items are used automatically at the right time so you don't need to scroll through menus of items to find the right one. It does detract from some of the challenge by not being able to figure this out for yourself, but it does save time in the long run. Clothes and weapons are now coded as green, and the biggest improvement here comes from being able to select multiple things at once. For example, if I'm wearing the squirrel clothes but need to go to the water temple, I can first select the pig suit, then select the Baron to fly to the water temple, and Tombi's equipment will change whilst flying to the next area. Your weapons can now be easily switched around using the shoulder buttons too, so you no longer have to enter the menu in the first place. Overall, there's not one area I can pick out that I really find annoying or frustrating. Maybe if I was to nitpick, the deep forest and the Dongling forest area is suspended over a bottomless pit with this weird seesaw puzzle that I didn't quite get as a kid. I'm still not a massive fan of the laughing crying mechanic, but Tombi doesn't just laugh or cry spontaneously this time, and it's easier to avoid the mushrooms and cure yourself from their effects. But even good games have their stinker moments. Super Mario 64 had that annoying red coin star in the rainbow clouds. Professor Layton had those horrible sliding puzzles. Tombi 1 had the motocross event, and Tombi 2 has the Kujara washing shed. Ooh, this event is my favourite thing in the world. A minigame! Man, I hate minigames so much, which is quite surprising as I love collectathon platformers. Often they try and implement new mechanics that just don't work. Tombi 2's minigames are actually okay. I loved the trolley stop and the berry nut harvest as a kid, but never, ever have I enjoyed this painful waste of 30 minutes. We have to clean these little shit birds called Kujaras. I hate them so much. More than I hate Zippo, I swear. And to do that, you grab them and throw them into the washing machines, which is apparently what these are. Starts off easy, but each level, it doesn't get harder, it just gets more annoying. The washing machines start moving up and down and opening and shutting. Who designed this machine? And the Kujara get more aggressive and bouncy. And most of the throwing ends up being a leap of faith because the washing machines are often off the screen. And it's 10 levels of this nonsense. 10 levels! And you need to do them to get the golden item because this is one of those events you need to clear in order to finish the golden tower event. The ice candy event is a little annoying if you leave it and just do it specifically. You need to use the ice pig magic to turn enemies into ice candy to give to this vendor to sell, and he wants 30 of these things. Like I said, if you're out to do this specifically, it's an absolute grind, but if you start doing it alongside other events as soon as you get the ice pig robes, then you're fine. Other than that, there is no other event I don't enjoy, and then that comes to a total of about 3 events of 137. That's 2% of the events. It's 98% good shit. I know no one gives a shit, but I'm about to spoil the story, so skip ahead. So this time we only have 5 evil pigs to beat, not 7. And they're actually named after their elements this time, which makes them easier to distinguish. We have token female evil pig who sounds like Nicolas Cage.
Alright, you wanna face off? We'll face off.
The I'm English I am pig.
We're 78%. Fact.
And the rest. Well, they actually do look physically a lot different from one another, which is due to the 3D environment as their designs are now more elaborate. I actually really like the evil ghost pig, he's really creepy looking, and his lair is probably the most interesting of them all. I get Haunted Mansion vibes from it, it's pretty cool. The fights themselves function the same as the first game. Grab the pig, throw them in the bag, win. But instead of doing it once, we have to do it 3 times now. Ooh! I think this is meant to emulate the multiple phases of a boss battle. After the second successful throw, the pig will lose its staff and get a little more aggressive, but it's still so easy. After they're defeated, the land they cursed returns to normal, and we receive a pig robe of their element, granting us the power to use their pig magic. They're pretty useless though. The only one I used was the ice pig robes for the previously mentioned ice candy event. The only time they really serve a purpose is during the endgame sequence. After defeating the 5 evil pigs, we get taunted by the final evil pig. We find Kynan under the pipe area next to a locked door. He opens it, granting us access to the point of no return. Inside are 5 pig statues guarding the final evil pig gate, and we use the corresponding pig robes to break the plates. Problem is the final evil pig has stopped time, and none of our travelling items work, nor do the exits of the area, but we need to travel to the previously cursed areas to reach the pig plates. We therefore travel through the underground mining tunnels of the pipe area to reach them. This whole time stop sequence is like so creepy. The music is eerie, everything is black and white, and we can even walk on water because apparently that's how time stopping works. Yeah, it's a little strange, but this whole sequence is such a shift in tone, it still kind of fits in. Once all the statues are destroyed, we take on the final evil pig, who's disappointingly small. And I've never got a good look at his face, so I still don't know what he looks like 20 years later. Again, his fight functions the same as the others, but this time we throw him in the pig bag like 5 times or something. He's a little more aggressive, but still ridiculously easy. The music is pretty funky though. It's one of the only instances during gameplay of the music looping. Well, kinda. It record skips and starts again. The rest of the gameplay music has a start and end point, like it will finish, go quiet for a few seconds, and start again. I always find this so weird. It's not something I come across very often in games at all. The rest of the game's music it's alright. Some really good stuff like the coal mining town, the Kujara Ranch Summit and the water temple, but it's a little meh. Tombi 1 is definitely better in this respect, but Tombi 2's music is a lot more atmospheric and varied. So we defeat the final evil pig.
No, you beat me, Tombi.
Save Tabby. Zippo acts like the fucking hero. You did absolutely nothing, you prick.
You have no idea what we've been through.
We celebrate and go home. Wait, did their boat just explode? Did Tombi die? Is this the real reason we didn't get a Tombi 3? It's so cheesy, this end sequence. I always loved how Tabby would hug Tombi and everyone was like, whoa! But Tombi didn't react at all. There's actually multiple endings to the game based on your level of completion. Well, the outfit Tombi wears for a full 4 seconds of the final cutscene will change based on how many events you completed. Complete less than 133 and you get nothing. Complete 133 and you get a black tuxedo. But if you have Tombi 1 save data, then you can unlock 4 additional events starring characters from the previous game, and this is totally fucking awesome! If you finish with 133 plus 4, then Tombi gets a red tuxedo. Worth it. So which one of these games is my favourite? Well, looking at it more critically, I think I have to betray my childhood nostalgia and say the second is better. It feels a lot more like an actual epic adventure. There's a lot of really cool secret stuff to discover, every corner of the world has something interesting to see and do, everything has a weight to it, and the stakes in general are higher as we're rescuing a human rather than retrieving a sentimental item. Looking back, I think I knew this all along and I was just too stubborn to admit it. Even when I decided to let's play a Tombi game, it was the second one I went to straight away. It's like my comfort food that I keep going back to. And yes, the game is a little easy, but it just means it's not stressful, like at all. According to my save file, it took me about 7 hours to complete this one, but I think it takes into account pause screens, which is annoying. If you just did the story stuff, it would take maybe 3 or 4 hours, but this one needs to be completed to fully experience its world. So does this mean this is my favourite game of all time? Well, when I think about it, I think there might be one more that I favour above it, but that's for another time. For now, I'll be going back to Destroy All Humans, so please join me next time as we continue our journey through that series. I'll see you then. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of my video on an irrelevant 20-year-old PS1 game. Genuinely means the world to me. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. If you already have, you get a big kiss. I'll see you next time for Destroy All Humans 2, guys. Goodbye.